You've probably heard of Shadow Strike, the multiplayer game that's taken over the gaming world. I'd known about it for years, but never touched it until my friends practically dragged me into the chaos one chilly October night. They wanted to squad up. That's when 4 people team up to battle it out. My crew was made up of Liam, Jasper, Cole, and me. Liam was the undisputed leader, the best player by far, always calling the shots. Jasper was the sharp second in command, while Cole barely spoke unless he was in trouble. Liam, Jasper, and I spent most of our time joking around on the headset, trying to get me up to speed. But none of that mattered once we hit the critical moment. We were deep into the game, following Liam's lead through a deserted digital cityscape, when suddenly Liam went silent. 10 seconds passed. Then, without warning, his character froze dead in its tracks. Jasper's voice crackled over the headset, impatient and sharp, urging Liam to move. But there was no response. What was strange and terrifying was that Liam's mic was picking up noise. Not just static, but faint, eerie sounds from his room. Whispering, maybe? Or footsteps? We all told him to move or we'd have to leave him behind. Then came the scream. A piercing, gut-wrenching scream blasted through Liam's mic. It wasn't him yelling into the headset. It sounded like he was somewhere else in the house, trapped, terrified. A door slammed hard in the background, echoing through our headphones. We were frozen. No one spoke. I tried calling Liam immediately. 5 rings. No answer. My heart pounding, I jumped in my car and sped the 5 minutes to his house. When I arrived, the driveway was empty. The front door was wide open, lights flickering inside the old Maplewood house. I stepped in, calling his name, my voice shaking. Then, from somewhere upstairs, I heard a faint, desperate whisper. "Hide." I raced upstairs, following the sound to his bedroom loft. There, under the bed, was Liam, pale, trembling. He barely spoke at first, just nodding when I asked what happened. Slowly, the story spilled out. While we were playing, Liam felt a tap beneath the bed. Curious, he pulled back the fabric lining the frame and saw a man. A grown man, crouched in the shadows under his bed. Liam dropped his headset and screamed, backing into a corner as the man emerged, silent and cold. The intruder walked out of the room like he owned the place and vanished into the night. Liam didn't know if the man was still inside the house, so he called the police. 2 officers arrived, a man and a woman. The male cop searched the house, while the female officer took notes outside, her pen scratching as Liam described the nightmare. But no one found a trace. I stayed with Liam that night, watching the shadows creep along the walls. We still play Shadow Strike together, but now I'm always watching the corners of my own room, waiting for something to tap beneath my bed. But the story didn't end there. A few nights later, Liam received a strange message in the game chat from an unknown player named Underbed. The message was simple but chilling. "You saw me. Now I see you." We laughed it off as a creepy prank. But then, during our next game session, strange glitches started happening. Our avatars would freeze, just like Liam's had. Whispering voices leaked through the headset, but no one was talking. And every time Liam's character froze, we heard a faint tapping sound like fingernails on wood. One night, while playing, I noticed something impossible. My own room was reflected in the game's digital cityscape. The shadows in the game matched the shadows in my room. Suddenly, the game world and reality blurred. Then, the screen went black. When it flickered back on, Liam's avatar was gone. And a new player had joined me, but the avatar looked twisted, distorted, like a shadow of myself. I tried to quit the game, but the exit button was gone. A voice whispered through the headset, low and cold.
"You invited me in. Now you're mine."
The last thing I saw was a pair of glowing eyes staring from beneath the digital bed frame, and then everything went dark. Liam disappeared the next day. Jasper and Cole stopped answering calls. And I'm left here, trapped somewhere between the game and reality, waiting for someone to squat up, but this time, I'm the one lurking beneath the bed. I never really got into the game. Shadow Siege, my friends, had been obsessed with it for months, always urging me to join their squads. Every time they said, "Come on, jump on Shadow Siege with us," I felt like an outsider looking in. Sure, I'd tried it a few times, understood the basics, but I was terrible at it. That all changed one chilly Thursday night in late November. I decided to give it another shot alone, just to practice. Over and over, I logged in, honing my skills in violence. Slowly, I started getting better. Then, one evening, I teamed up with a random player in a duo match. His username was something like Rocket Rex 42X. I didn't bother memorizing it. We didn't win. I think we placed somewhere around 18th. After the match, I got a private message from him. He said I was surprisingly good and suggested we play again. It felt odd because honestly, I thought I'd played poorly. Curious, I agreed. This time, he turned on his mic. I didn't have a headset, so I couldn't respond, only hear him through my TV speakers. At first, he was friendly, but soon his tone shifted. He started snapping at me, saying things like,
"Turn your mic on. Don't be a coward."
Then the insults got worse. I thought, great, just a jerk. I was about to quit when suddenly, through the static and game noise, I heard him say something chilling. My full name. Not just my first name, but my entire name. My heart stopped. How did he know that? My profile didn't show my real name. I froze. The voice kept coming, but I wasn't listening anymore. Panicked, I shut off the console. Silence felt like a relief. I texted my friends about it, expecting concern. Instead, they laughed it off, lol. LMAO. The usual. I put my phone down and opened my laptop. Then it vibrated again. An unknown number sent a message. "Hey, my full name." I typed back, "Who is this?" The typing bubbles lingered for what felt like forever. Then came the next message. "Is this your address?" My actual home address. I was frozen. I lied, replying, "No, that's not my address." No response after that. I accused my friends of messing with me. They swore they weren't involved, but I wasn't sure if I believed them. I didn't want to give whoever it was the satisfaction of freaking me out more. That night, I barely slept. At around 3 a.m., I woke to a faint noise. You know that eerie moment when you're half awake and hear something but can't quite place it? That was me. Then came a soft, deliberate knocking on my bedroom window. Instead of looking, I bolted straight to the bathroom, locked the door, and sat there shaking until dawn. I even fell asleep in that bathroom, feeling safer without windows. The next morning, I told my friends to go to hell, half joking, half serious. They laughed, but when I saw them later, their eyes seemed genuine. They really had no clue what was happening. Days passed. The messages didn't stop. Every few hours, my phone buzzed with texts from unknown numbers. Sometimes just a single word, "watching." Other times, cryptic phrases like, "you can't hide forever." I changed my number twice, but the messages found me anyway. One night, I received a photo. It was taken from outside my house. through a window. I recognized the angle my bedroom window, and the timestamp was just minutes before I got the message. My blood ran cold. I finally decided to go to the police. They took my statement, but without concrete evidence, they couldn't do much. They suggested I install security cameras and be cautious. I did, but the cameras never caught anything unusual. No one approached my house, no footprints in the yard. Still, the messages continued. One evening, while scrolling through my game logs, I found something strange. The username RocketRex42X had been deleted, not just banned, but completely wiped from the system. No trace of him anywhere. I dug deeper and found a forum thread about a similar experience. Someone else had been harassed by a player with the same username. The thread ended abruptly, with the user saying they were going offline for good. Then, one night, the knocking returned. This time, it was louder, more insistent. I peeked through the blinds and saw a shadowy figure standing in my yard. Heart pounding, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. The operator told me to stay calm and keep the door locked. The figure didn't move for minutes, then slowly backed away into the darkness. The next day, police found footprints leading away from my house, large, heavy prints that didn't match any of my neighbors. Weeks later, my friends confessed something. They'd heard rumors about a hacker who could track players through the game's code, sometimes even infiltrate their devices. They thought it was just an urban legend. But now, I wasn't so sure. I stopped playing Shadow Siege. I changed all my passwords, moved my gaming setup to a different room, and installed every security measure I could find. Still, sometimes, late at night, I catch a faint whisper from my speakers, a voice I don't recognize saying my name. And I wonder, is the stranger behind the screen still watching? Or worse, waiting for me to play again? It was a chilly evening in late October 2023 when my 12-year-old son Ethan was supposed to arrive at my apartment in the quiet neighborhood of Willow Creek. I double-checked every lock on the doors and flicked on all the outdoor lights, casting long shadows across the porch. I told Ethan to stay in his room and keep playing his video game and no talking to anyone, no matter what. I paced near the living room window, heart pounding, eyes fixed on the street. Then, a car rolled up slowly and stopped right in front of the building. The headlights went dark. The driver's door creaked open, and a man stepped out. He was probably in his mid-40s, a bit overweight, wearing a dark jacket that blended into the night. My breath caught as he started walking up the cracked sidewalk toward my front door. When he rang the bell, 3 sharp, deliberate rings, I froze. I didn't answer. Then came the pounding, a frantic hammering that echoed through the silent street. I held my breath, refusing to move. The man's shadow loomed in the porch light as he peered through the windows. I slipped back into the shadows, making sure he couldn't see me. I thought he'd leave, but instead, he circled around the side of the building where the windows couldn't catch him. Suddenly, I heard the back door being jiggled, the unmistakable sound of someone trying to force it open. My heart hammered in my chest. I stayed silent, knowing there was no other way in. If he gave up, he'd leave. When the noises stopped, I waited 5 agonizing minutes. Then, I turned off the kitchen lights and slowly pulled up the blinds. My blood ran cold. The man's face was pressed inches from the glass, staring straight at me. I screamed, my voice trembling but fierce, "I'm calling the police!" He recoiled, then hurried away. I watched as he climbed into his car and sped off into the night. I never called the police. Instead, I stormed into Ethan's room and scolded him like never before. 2 weeks grounded from video games, and after that, 2 months without his wireless headset. He'd endangered himself, and all of us, Now, 2 weeks later, he's back to playing, but I can't shake the sick feeling in my stomach. What if I hadn't been home that night? The nights after that were restless. Every creak in the apartment made me jump. I installed extra locks and even bought a security camera, but the footage never showed anything unusual. Yet, I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching us. One evening, Ethan came to me, eyes wide and voice trembling. "Mom, I think someone's in the game. Someone keeps sending me messages." I frowned. "What kind of messages?" "Just weird stuff. Like they know where I live. They say they're coming." My blood ran cold again. The stranger from that night wasn't just outside the door. He was inside our lives, lurking behind the screen. I begged Ethan to stop playing, but he was stubborn. The game was his escape, his world. Then, one night, the power went out. The apartment plunged into darkness. Ethan's gaming console flickered on by itself, the screen glowing with a message, "I'm closer than you think." I grabbed my phone to call for help, but there was no signal. The knocking started again, this time on Ethan's bedroom window. I ran to him, heart pounding, and pulled the curtains shut. We locked the door and waited, breath held, until the knocking stopped. The next morning, I found a small note slipped under the door. Written in shaky handwriting were the words, "Next time, I won't just knock." I realized then that the stranger was no longer just a visitor at the door. He was a shadow in our lives, a nightmare we couldn't escape. Every night since, I check the locks, watch the windows, and pray that the stranger never comes calling again.